Hello everybody, my name is Pagan Malcolm and I'm here to do a little training for you about something that I'm really lit up to talk about. I don't really know what to title this, but I'm going to riff on book marketing. I'm going to riff on some things that I've realized recently based on the things I've been going through and the changes I've been making to my book marketing strategy. And I hope that this lands for you. I really feel something good that's going to come out of this and I have lots of notes. So I hope you stay with me till the end. So I want to talk about, so this is kind of coming off of a video that I did in my other group, actually, my new one, which is called The Abundant Author, which you should absolutely go join that because we are doing some huge movement and work in there. But essentially, I was doing this training and I was kind of just talking about strategy and how I'm able to show up all the time. And like, essentially I was talking about, which I want to recap this here so this is relevant, but basically, this idea that like I was talking about how I'm able to create content all the time, because if you guys know me, you guys know I'm really good at showing up and creating content and kind of getting everything done. If you see my Instagram, you see I have a huge to-do list that I like whiz through every day, that I always get everything done, and if I don't get it done, it gets done by the end of the week. And you guys know that I do a lot of projects, I juggle a lot of things, I have a lot of energy and time, and like, even so, I still do a lot more than a lot of other entrepreneurs do. Like, I didn't know that this wasn't normal until recently, that a lot of entrepreneurs who are good at content creation can maybe at most get a month of content done in advance. I have at least 3 months of content done in advance at any given time for multiple brands, right? Not just Paperback Kingdom. I have this for Paperback Kingdom, for my new brand, which is Pagan Cyan Coaching. I have it for P.S. Malcolm. I have it for Tara Quinn. I always have content done in advance. For like, that's 4 brands right there. So that's like at least 12 months of content right there that I'm able to do all the time, right? So this is something I'm really good at, and people are like, how the frick do you do that? How do you come up with so much content? How do you always have ideas? How do you always have flow? How do you always know what to say, right? And this is just one aspect of the strategy, right? So what I want to talk about is like, how do you get this to flow for every part of your strategy? How do you get content to flow and engagement to flow and, you know, all the other to-dos that you've got to do in your authorship business to flow, right? Because as an author, you do wear a lot of hats. And I was talking in this video a bit about the lack of work ethic, which wasn't to essentially like knock anyone down or anything, but essentially to say like, you know, I think there's a lack of work ethic. I think that, I don't think that people don't want it enough. Like, I definitely believe you when you say, like, I want to be an author, I have these great books and these great ideas, and you absolutely know that they can change lives and you desire to get them out there. I think the problem missing, or the gap, is that a lot of people don't desire to do the work to get there, right? It's not that they don't want it enough, it's that they literally cannot summon the motivation and energy and resources to get there, right? And I don't necessarily think that's like a lack of work ethic. I don't think that's the right wording for it, but I do think that like there's this lack of willingness to show up and do the work in general, and it can stem from underlying problems, not just like a lack of wanting to do it, right? And so that was essentially what I was talking about, and I was like, well, how is it that I'm able to do that? How is it that I never seem to run out of work ethic? How is it that even when I'm going through periods of frustration and struggle, I'm still able to show up and get all my to-dos done? Over the past 5 years, to give you a really transparent look, right, I have had up and down income roller coaster. I've lived on $40 a week. I have had periods of my business where I've made absolutely no sales for months. I have had periods of my business where I've doubted that things are working to the point where I want to shut it down, and nearly have many times, right? And it's like, how am I still able to create content consistently for 2 years straight and do engagement and do all these things that need to get done and run my programs and have everything running the way it's supposed to, and actually have the time and energy to show up and do all of that as one person, even when I'm struggling, right? Even when things don't seem to be working, even when I'm doubting myself, even when I am broke as fuck, right? So like, how is it that I'm able to do that, right? So that was kind of like the beginning point. And the thing that I realized recently is that this came when I had my breakthrough, which if you haven't watched that video, it's in this group and you should definitely go watch that too. But it's basically like I had this breakthrough after feeling unaligned for maybe 6 months and feeling like I'd outgrown something and something wasn't working anymore, and feeling like I was really lacking the energy and excitement in what I used to do with this business. I eventually realized that it was time for me to expand and to start a new branch and a new chapter and go in a new direction with it, which I've now started to do, right? And I really considered for some time just going into general business coaching because I'm like, my desires are not aligned with how this business is going and I want to change something here and I don't know what it is. And every time I thought about helping other service providers in other industries like, health coaching, fitness coaching, general business coaching, general services like copywriting or social media management or whatever, I would get blocked around content. Like, this is probably the number one reason why I didn't do it in the first place, why I didn't just run with that idea and try it and saw what happened. Because I'm the kind of person that will try things. It will be like, let's try this and see what happens, right? As soon as I get an idea, it's like I am ready to put all my energy into it and really go with it. And I never did that whenever I would think about this idea because I was like, I know I can do it. Like, I know that I'd be good at it. I know that I could absolutely build something here. But every time I try to create content, which I know is one of the foundational things I need to get it off the ground, to start connecting with people, to start getting messaging out there. It was like, I can't even get clear on the messaging. I can't even get clear on the content because I don't know this audience. I don't care about this audience. It doesn't resonate with me. I don't really feel lit up to help this audience. I really don't feel lit up to do anything with this audience. I don't know what even offers I would create for this audience other than the basics, like the strategy pieces. I don't know how I'd put my own spin on it and infuse my personality into it because I don't even know what I would really want to help people with here, right? So that never happened because I didn't have the mission and the passion behind it, right? I didn't have that purpose behind it. If I had been like, I see a problem and I'm really passionate about it and I really like this kind of person, it would have been different. That's why this business works, because I am actually passionate about authorship. And I am an author, so I get authors. I like authors. I resonate with your problems. I resonate with your struggles. I know what it's like to be an author, right? And I genuinely have things every day that I want to say to you guys that are on my mind, that I'm constantly getting ideas for, that I constantly want to say things about. It's like, that's why I don't run out of ideas. That's how I'm able to create content so well, is because I have so much to say to you. I have so much to share with you. I have so much to give to you. It never runs out because you are my people. You are what I'm passionate about helping. Who I'm passionate about helping. This is what I'm passionate about doing, right? And it's like the mission behind my business. It's not just like I am a coaching business who happens to help this specific kind of niche. It's like, this is my why. This is why I started it. This is why I'm still here 5 years later. This is what motivated and fueled me when things were not working, when things were struggling, when I was broke, when I was frustrated, when I wanted to give up, and I went through that so many times. And it's like, here's the thing I'm trying to get to, right? Your business has to light you up. You have to actually want to be there. You have to actually care about what you're doing. And if you're not feeling that motivation on a daily basis, on a regular basis, because for me, it's like I wake up and I'm like, I can't wait to start my to-do list. I can't wait to get in there and talk to clients and do this thing and create the sales post and talk about this offer. It lights me up. There is, of course, things in there that are a bit like, like I could easily hand this off to a VA and be happy about handing it off, but it doesn't make me want to procrastinate or not do it. It doesn't make me go, oh, I wish I didn't have to do this. I never feel that way about my business and having to work in it. I never feel like I have to hype myself up in the morning to do it, right? Or that I actually get the feeling like after I've come back from evening cleaning, or if I've been out for a weekend, I'm never in a situation where I'm like, I'm just too tired to do anything or think about anything to do with this business. I still have ideas, and oftentimes I have to stop myself from working because I will sit down for another hour and go, I just want to get this down while it's fresh and while I'm excited about it. It's kind of like when you get a new writing idea, right? And so the opposite that I see is that people struggle with this. It's like they come home from a day job and they don't have that desire to be showing up for their books. And it's like they can't even get a 10-minute caption out for their Instagram post. They can't even do 5 minutes of engagement. They can't even do the bare minimum essential basics that are required to build your business and move it forward, because it's like, I don't feel passionate, I don't feel excited, I don't feel driven, I don't feel motivated, I don't have the energy, I don't want to be here, right? Do you get where I'm coming at here? So it's like, this is the thing that I think is missing for a lot of people, is that you don't have a deeper why around your books. And it's very surface level. And that's not to say that you have to have this mission that you preach all over the internet so that people buy your books, right? Because at the end of the day, they're books, they're a product. It's very different to a service. So it's not like you're writing a book and then you have to have this whole background story around why you wrote the book so that people buy it. Because your readers are just going to go, this sounds like my kind of read, and pick it up. They don't have to know the deeper why or anything. You have to know the deeper why. You have to be rock solid and sold on your deeper why. That is what's going to move you forward through the basic pieces every day. That is what's going to motivate you to show up every day. If you don't have that, if you're not solid on that, you're going to struggle through a lot of it. And that's what I think is missing. That's where the lack of work ethic comes in for a lot of people. Let me know if this is making sense and landing. And so, like I said, it could be that you're not writing for the right people. It could be you're not writing the right kind of story, or you haven't quite found your thing yet, which is fine. You can still have a business that's working and books that are making sales while you figure that out. And I will tell you more about that in a second. But when you actually land on that thing, it will start to work so much better, because you will actually be driven enough and motivated enough to do the basic steps every day to show up for it, because it will be this energy that pulls you to it that you can't not do it, right? It's like this thing where it's like you don't have to hype yourself up to do it every day. You will want to be there. And that is the difference. That is what's going to move the needle for you. So what I'm saying, like how I noticed is that I felt this way about my original books, right? For a long time, the things I was clear on, it was like I wanted to write for YA. So I did. These are like my YA. And I wanted to write stories that I was passionate about. So I always write stuff that I wanted to be writing, sure. And I wrote series. I wrote whatever felt like the thing. So, if it was a trilogy, I'd write the trilogy. If it was a series, I'd write the series. And if it was a standalone, I'd write the standalone. And that was fine. So I did what I wanted to do. But I still feel like I was kind of exploring, and I hadn't really landed on the thing that even lit me up to market. And I think like a lot of people think about, this is something I want to write for me, this is something I'm passionate about writing for me, but they don't think about the sales part of it. They don't think about the marketing part of it and think, well, how would I market this and what would light me up to market about it, right? Because I, truthfully, and you've probably noticed this from the way I show up, or the way I have been showing up in recent years around my main books, is that it's not the same as my new books. It's less, it's not that there's a lack of excitement to them, because I still have passion for these books, but I've definitely outgrown them. I've definitely lost that original excitement that I had when I wrote them. And that's why you should really start marketing them while you're writing them, because that's when you're most excited to talk about them and you're most clear on what lights you up about it. You can transfer that into your marketing process. It's been like 10 years since I wrote these books. So it's like, I don't really have that for them anymore. And I know what originally lit me up, and I kind of recycle that from time to time, but I have to make my marketing fresh for it all the time, or else I get bored. And if I'm bored and I'm putting that energy out, my readers are not going to resonate with that energy. They're going to be bored. They're going to feel it. They're not going to want to be excited about it. And you kind of want them to be excited about it if they're going to buy it, right? And so what I've been doing, and I wish I could show you, but it's on my phone. I'm using my phone to record. But over on my main books Instagram account, I've changed all my branding. I've changed my marketing strategy over there. If you go check it out, it's called, the handle is p.s.malcolm if you don't follow me over there. But you'll see it's like I do these reels and I do these quote graphics and I do these personal posts from time to time. And that's essentially all I do. And I post like a couple of times a month over there, and I just kind of keep the awareness going for the books. And I kind of let my sales funnel do the rest for me. So like I give them awareness of the book to the point where they go to the link in my bio where they can learn more about it and they can find the sales link and all of that. And I even have some people DM me sometimes. I had someone DM me this morning saying like, I think your books look like something I'd like to read, but I'm not sure what the starting book for each series is. Can you let me know? So I let her know, this is the first book in this series. This is the first book in this series. Let me know what you end up starting with first. So like it does attract messages. It does attract people who are like, I think I'm interested, and you can kind of guide people from there. So you just need something that works for you, like a marketing strategy that lights you up. And for me, one of the things that light me up to market with is branding. I like to create graphics. I like to create in general and be creative. I like to write about stuff. So me having that creativity and flexibility to experiment with different branding and different colors and different fonts and graphics and ways of positioning and presenting my books is what is exciting to me right now. So I can leverage that to feel good about how I'm putting things out there, right? And how I'm communicating with my audience. But at the same time, because it's not really an audience that I resonate with anymore, because I don't really want to be writing YA anymore, and these are really old books, it's like that original passion for my audience is not there anymore, for this audience anyway. So it still feels surface level because it's still lacking, and I don't think I'm going to get that back, and that's okay. So I'm just like doing what I can with it. But it's different with the new books, right? So if I show you the new books, well, again, I can't show you because it's on the computer, but if you go to Tara Quinn Author on Instagram, which is the new books, right? And that's these ones. This is a different energy. You can see it and feel it when you see the posts in my feed. It's all very more, like the excitement is there. The captions read different. They're more like in the moment. They're more like, I don't have to overthink about what do I say today? What do I say in this post? It's like, I literally just talk about what's happening. I talk about what I'm excited about. I talk about things about the book that I can't wait to tease to people. I share teasers from the book in real time that I'm excited about. And I have a lot of fun with my marketing process. So there's lots more types of content on that account. Not because I have to have more types of content, but because I get more ideas, because I'm more excited to talk about it, right? So I have the same kinds of things going on, but I have more reels and I have more quote pictures and I have more flat lays and branding stuff going on. And it's just like, it's a whole different thing, right? And like, so that, and even like the audience is different, because over there I started to move into NA books, which is more, it feels more aligned for where I'm at because I'm about to turn 25, and it's like I am a new adult person, you know, I'm in my 20s. So I don't want to write about people in high school anymore because that was like 10 years ago for me. So it's like I want to write about things that I'm probably living and experiencing right now in my life. And that's how I felt 10 years ago about being in high school. I was like, I want to write about the same thing. So that's why I wrote YA at that time. And now it's shifted, right? And I also kind of got clear on like, I love to death to read fairy tale retellings. That is like a huge thing that I'm into. I'm also into, you know, love, hate, romance and things like that in fantasy. And I've written that before, but the fairy tale retellings is like a whole thing. And for me, it lights me up because my thing that I'm doing is that I'm blending two fairy tale retellings in one book at the same time. So I get to have fun with it. I get to blend the storylines and see where it takes me. I get to talk about that in my marketing and how, like, see how it unfolded and be like, I can't wait till you see how this happens, and I can't wait till you see what this character does. I get to create different new types of characters. I get to like reference things from the original fairy tale that excite me, but that's just my thing. That's what excites me, right? And like there's other things to it too. There's like the pacing of it, because I've started to do duologies, which I find is, I like it a lot better. It's not that I didn't like doing trilogies or series, but I like that I can finish them faster. I like that the storyline doesn't drag on and I don't have to keep writing like way past from when it's like by the time I finish writing a series, usually I'm over it because I've realized I'm very fast paced, right? So with a duology, it gives me plenty of time to tell the story the way I want to, but it also gives me enough time to wrap it up while I'm still excited about it, right? So that's something that I'm really liking. It's like everything about it is in alignment, from the branding to the talking about it to the audience to everything, right? It's just all there and it's all good. So that is what I've noticed has changed in my marketing process. And something else I wanted to mention, I just want to go back to my notes real quick, is that you are the brand for a reason. And I've talked about this before. I've talked about how you as an author are the brand, and you have your books are a separate brand. I like to phase it, I know some people talk about it differently, but I like to phase it as like your books fall under the umbrella of your brand as their own individual franchises, right? And so your books can have a life of their own, an existence of their own, and a platform of their own, hosted under you, right? And then if you outgrow them, or you change directions or change genres at some point, it doesn't impact those books because they can exist on their own, and you as the individual can change, right? And that's kind of what's happened here, although I did it with a pivot to a different brand name, but you don't have to do that. It's essentially like I outgrew my original books and found something that really lands with me, and I get to have new books, and I get to change as an author. I get to evolve as an author, and my stories get to evolve without taking away from what I did in the past and having to rebrand everything. This is something I learned about Paperback Kingdom, is that I branded it under a business name with a very specific mission and very specific branding So if I ever wanted to pivot to just general business coach, which I'm very clear at this point I'm not going to do, but if I ever had wanted to do that, right? And I wanted to become like a personal, like not that I wasn't really a personal brand because I show up like one, but if I wanted to be like a personal brand and change my name and everything and change my purpose and mission and not associate it with Paperback Kingdom anymore, or even rebrand the focus of Paperback Kingdom and shift my entire audience, I would have had to pivot and do a lot more work. And it's a lot easier to just change your direction when you are the brand yourself and you're like, okay, I'm doing this now, right? Instead of having to change the name and the branding and like the intellectual property of everything, right? That is a whole process. So it's similar with your books, right? Where you as the author get to evolve over time and change your branding and change your direction and change your focus and change your audience based on what lights you up and based on where you go in your life, because of course that's going to happen. And then your books from 10 years ago aren't going to just stop being relevant. They're not going to stop selling because you've established them on their own, right? Does that make sense? And so it's kind of like all these pieces to it. And so I just want to also look at something else that I wanted to say here. Let me find this note. Yes, this is the other thing I wanted to touch on before around community, right? So what I find with community specifically is that a lot of authors, again, what blocks them around showing up and creating content and wanting to connect with people and engage with people is that they really just don't care about their audience. It's similar to like them not being clear enough on their mission and purpose that they don't want to show up. If you don't actually care about the people in front of you and you're not telling stories that you know are going to resonate with those people, that are going to bring back responses that light you up, that's going to feel difficult, right? It's very easy for me to sit here and say you need a reader base and you need a big one and you need like a presence and branding and all these things, and you need to cultivate that every day and nurture that every day and be building relationships every day if you don't like that whole process to begin with and you don't like the people in front of you, right? It's like me saying, okay, you need to go on a stage today and talk about this topic and talk to a bunch of people that don't want to be there or are really boring or you just don't get, like they're not your vibe. It's essentially like someone saying to me, this is probably a better example. It's like someone saying to me, go on that stage, right, and talk for 2 hours to an audience of fitness coaches who I don't know, who I don't get, who I wouldn't know the first thing to say to them. Like, that would just go horribly, right? But if I had my audience in front of me, that's going to feel very different. I'm going to be very quickly able to start a conversation, to find a point that resonates, to find a topic that I want to talk about with them, to make genuine relationships with them, to have conversations that are exciting and light me up every day, to cultivate a sense of community with people because people are getting it, right? You have to want to be there, but it's easier for you to want to be there if you actually like being there, if you actually like the people who you're hanging out with, if you actually like the community and the energy of the community that you're cultivating, right? And that comes from you being clear on who are you writing books for? What reading problems are you solving with your books? What actually motivated you to write these books in the first place? What kind of person are you hoping to attract in? I think there's this messaging that goes on in this industry around like you have to write books that are part of the trends or are popular at the moment or that have already been proven to sell unless you want to be a broke author. But I don't think it works if you don't actually want to be writing those books, right? Like, the thing here is that I think what people try to do is that they write a book that they want to write and maybe is a bit out of the box and maybe is a bit different to the trends, but then they go and try to sell it to people who only want trends, right? Because they, like, a lot of readers will find popular things and be like, yes, I like my love-hate romance books, I want to stick with that. Or they might say, I really like the fantasy books that come out from authors like Victoria Aveyard and Sarah J. Maas, and I want to stick with that, right? So unless your book fits that, it's not going to resonate with them, but don't try and sell your book to those people, right? You want to attract in your own audience. You want to attract in people who are going to get that from you, right? Because it doesn't work otherwise. And like, if you're not lit up to sell the book, it doesn't work either. You can't just write something trendy for the sake of it and then feel good about marketing it, because you'll run into the same problems of like, I don't want to be here. This is hard for me to show up for every day. I can't even put 10 minutes into writing a caption. I don't know what to say to these people. I don't know how to connect with these people. If you know why you've written a book and you feel 100% passionate about it and you're like, this is why I wrote it, it can even be a surface level thing. Like, I just want to write about vampires. That is totally fine. If you want to write about vampires and you've written a very particular kind of vampire story, go out there and put it out there with the passion that lights you up, with the things that you want to talk about, and focus on attracting in other people who get it, not trying to push that onto people who have already decided they want something else, right? That is the difference here. And that's how you're going to draw back people who are like-minded, who are like you, who are going to be like, I get that. I want to read that. It looks really good. I love how you did this. I love that. I've never seen that before. I love that you did it differently to this person. I hear this all the time with my books. I hear where people say, like, I wasn't expecting this twist, right? Or I hear people who say, so this is kind of embarrassing, but like, I have this fan fiction, right, that does way better than most of my original books, which is a sorry thing to say. But, you know, it's still one of my works, so it's fine. It's on Wattpad, and to this day, I get people reading it all the time and telling me how good it is and how much they like it, which is very nice of them. And you know, most fan fictions out there have the original characters from the original books, right, or movie or whatever. So usually it's a case of like it's an alternative type of story with those characters, or there's an original, like your original main character with an original character from the books, right? If that makes sense. Because it's like a love interest type fan fiction scenario experience, right? So that wasn't the case with my books. I wanted to write with an entirely new cast of characters who were not from the original books, and then introduce some characters from the original books later, which I did, but they weren't even like the main characters from the books. So it was a bit of a weird angle. It's probably not what most people were expecting or looking for in a fan fiction, but people to this day read it, tell me how good it is, and even go as far to say like, oh my god, it's finally a fan fiction with original characters, right? Because some people actually want that. Some people are actually looking for that. So you don't have to stick to trends and follow rules and do what other people are doing or do what is expected. You get to do the thing that lights you up, put it out there with the passion you have, and you will be surprised with what responses you get back and how positive that is, right? Like, I never expected this fan fiction to do as good as it has and to get the amount of responses that it does ever, especially in comparison to my main books, right? My original books. And yet, people just love what I put out there and feel that energy of what I wanted to set out and accomplish in the first place, because I stuck true to what I wanted to write and I stuck true to my vision. And that gave me the fuel and the ability to be able to market it the way that I wanted to, because it was a way that lit me up. And I got to talk to people who got my vision, who understood why I would want to write something like that. I literally, in my marketing, I was a bit like the question I asked myself when I wrote this fan fiction was, because it's about a muggle who goes to Hogwarts, so, you know, but like, I literally asked myself what would happen if a muggle went to Hogwarts and couldn't do magic. I was like, that is a really interesting concept to explore. And a lot of other people seem to think the same thing when I pose that question in the blurb. It's like, well, what would happen, right? Like, I kind of want to know. I kind of want to buy into this and read it. So find that thing that lights you up about your book, the thing that made you want to write it, because other people are going to look at that and go, that's a good point. Like, that does sound interesting. I think I do want to see more about this, right? Because it's going to be new and exciting and different, and they're going to want to buy into that. So this is going on a bit of a riff. I think I've said everything I want to say. Hopefully it's making sense. Let me know down below if it's all landing for you, if you had a bit of a shift here. But that's essentially, like, to recap, I just wanted to go over some points around like why it feels difficult, why you don't want to show up, what is actually going on there, how do you shift that, how do you, you know, find what lights you up, and like the solution is like you have to be passionate about what you're doing. You have to actually have a deeper why than just wanting to make money from books, right? Not that that's bad, but it doesn't fuel you enough to make you want to show up and do it every day, even in the good and bad, right? You have to have something that makes you so excited to show up every day. And it's like, I can't not do this. I can't not show up. I can't not post. I can't not sell. I can't not talk about this. It literally lights the fuel and fire in me to do it, right? More so than the book, than the money you make from it, because the money is just a side effect of that. And it can get you so far, but if you don't have that passion behind it, it's not going to work for very long, right? And then in saying that, it's like, that doesn't have to be the front-facing thing for your readers to want to buy into it. It can help if it makes sense to put that into your branding, but you don't have to have that, like, on the front end. You don't have to publicize it. You just have to be locked into it for you, right? And then you put your books out and you market them the way you want to, and you don't worry about trends, and you don't worry about what other people are doing, and you just stick true to what you want to write, and you follow that passion that lights you up, and you put that out there, and you make it fun. and you lean into the things that make it exciting and fun for you to put it out there, whether that be that you like to brand things, or you like to do videos, or you like to do emails, right? Maybe you get really creative with things. Maybe you have a different way of talking about your books that really lands with people. Find that thing that lights you up and run with that. And that's what's going to help you to want to show up and be there every day. It's going to help you to attract an audience who gets it, that you're going to want to show up for every day, that you're going to want to have connections and community with, that doesn't just feel like a surface level, I have to have this so I make sales thing, right? Let me know if that's making sense. Hopefully that has given you a big shift. That is basically everything. So I will wrap this up. I will see you guys next time I do a training, and I will talk to you then. Okay.